And it is, of course, that time, midweek moment. And today's midweek moment is taken from Joel 2, verse 25. And it says, "And I, the Lord, will restore to you the years that the locusts have eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar, and the palmer worm, my great army, which I sent among you." So I just thought we can just backtrack a little bit on 2 Kings 4. It's a story of a mom whose little boy suddenly dies in her arms. And if you read a good couple of verses back, it's actually quite, it's one of my favorites, right? One of my favorite stories because, so if you look back, a good couple verses back, it talks about how this woman was a well-to-do lady. So she really was, all together, all connected, and she made a place in her home for the prophet Elisha. So, while he was staying and while he came to her, he noticed the fact that, her husband and her had no kids. So he said to her, like, "Hey, what can I do for you?" And she was like, "No, I'm cool. I don't need anything." And that's the moment when he said to her that, "You know what? And next year, this time, you'll be holding a baby in your arms." So she was like, "Oh no, come on, don't mess with me." This was a dream or a promise that she'd been holding on for a very long time. And all of a sudden, she must have come to a point where this is not going to happen and let me just leave it, forget about it. And here the prophet Elisha comes to her and says to her, "Hey, listen, you're going to be holding a baby in your arm next year." So she's like, "Okay, cool. But please, don't disappoint me." So you can imagine how she must have felt, all of a sudden, years later, when this little boy dies in her arms. I mean, that's like a promise coming to be, and then just like that, gone. So, but there's something which I always feel that we can really learn from this woman. I mean, she was a well-to-do lady. She was all connected. She knew where she stood. And yes, she was finally believing for something and it shows up, but then it's gone just like it. So even when it looked unbearable, she knew that the unexpected trouble wasn't a surprise to God. She knew who her father is. I mean, he answered her. He answered her prayers by giving her this child. Now, will he really give her a child, and then take the promise away? Would our God really do that? I don't think he would do that. So immediately when this happened, she set out to go find her friend Elisha. Twice she was asked if a child was well, and her answer was, "All is well." Although the baby, the little boy, just died in her arms, right? But she said, "All is well." So she knew that God could make a way where she didn't see a way. Elisha, of course, came back home with her. He prays for the boy. And this is what I love about it because, a lot of times we're in a situation where we're praying. And like we always think, okay, in the Bible, they pray, it's done just like that. Nope. Elisha goes back. He starts pacing up and down. He's praying for the boy. He's praying and nothing is happening. And he goes on and he continues, he becomes desperate before God. And then eventually he lays upon the boy. And that is when the breath of God brings life back into the young boy. And we know the little child as well. And if you read further down, there's actually even more good news for the lady. But this is where I want to bring it back home to us. So I'm sure maybe you're listening right now and you're thinking, "Hey, I can relate to this. This is me. I had a promise come to pass, but I feel like the enemy stole it from me. It's been taken away from me. Why would God give me a promise and then like take it away just like that?" So I want to remind you today that even though your situation seems dead, and the key word is it seems, because it only seems dead, you have a resurrecting God. He is resurrection and he is life. So God has made a covenant with you. And remember, he is not a covenant breaking God. He said he is for you and no one can be against you. He also said that he will never leave you nor will he forsake you. He's also a God of promises. He's a God of breakthrough. He is the God of the impossible and he is for you. So your father, will restore all that was lost because he said he will restore the years that the cankerworm and the locusts have eaten, no matter how bad it looks, no matter how dead it seems. He is the Father of all time. He is resurrection. And I know that the enemy can whisper lies to you, right? But just remember that the enemy cannot take what God has promised. But what he can do is he can distract you by discouraging you. So please do not let the enemy distract you. Keep your eyes fixed and focused on God and believe his promises that he said he will restore all that was stolen. So be encouraged with this track from CRC and just listen to the words, and may it really bless
You
you.
give me beauty